Hey, Mr. Bucko here with your Algebra Chapter 7 self-test problems. We got problems 1 through 4 on this video here. Starting with number 1, we have evaluating the expression x squared plus x to the 0 power when x is equal to 1/5. So we have an expression, we have a value for x, we are going to plug this value in for x and evaluate the expression. So when I plug in 1/5 in for x, what I get is this on the screen, 1/5 squared, because x is being squared, and x is 1/5, plus 1/5 to the 0 power, because x is 1/5. So with this being said, we're going to do 1/5 squared, and 1/5 squared is 1/5 times 1/5, which is 1 over 25, and 1/5 to the 0 power is 1. You can check that with a calculator. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So what we get then is 1 over 25 from 1/5 squared plus 1 to the 5th is 0, or 1/5 to the 0 is 1. So we have 1/5 plus 1. If we want to add these two together, we can make 1 into 25 over 5, so we can have common denominators to add these together, and we will get 26 over 25. Or you could say 1 and 1/25. But 26 over 25 is our answer. Number 2, we're going to write 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times d times d times d times d times d times d. That's horrible to say. Using exponents. So there's a shorter way to write 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. Because there are 4 8s being multiplied together, so we can write that as 8 to the 4th. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 d's being multiplied together, so we can simplify this to 8 to the 4th because there are 4 8s, and d to the 6th because there are 6 d's that are all being multiplied together. So our answer here is 8 to the 4th, d to the 6th. Number 3, if f of x is equal to 3 times x to the 0 power, we are asked to find f of 1,729. This is in function notation. We are given a function here, we are given a value of x here, and we are to plug that into the function and find out what our output will be. So if we're given a function, we're given a value at which to evaluate the function, we're going to plug that value into the function. So I have the function, and I'm going to replace x with 1,729 because we are asked to find the value of the function at 1,729. So I have f of 1,729 is equal to 3 times 1,729 to the 0 power. Notice that just 1,729 is the base of the exponent. 3 is not a part of the base of the exponent, just x is. If 3 was, we would see parentheses around here. We do not see parentheses, so therefore just x is being put to the 0 power. So therefore only 1,729 is being put to the 0 power. And anything to the 0 power is 1. You can check that with the calculator. So we get f of 1,729 is equal to 3 times 1. This 1 comes from doing 1,729 to the 0 power. And then we have 3 times 1, which is just 3. So then we say that f of 1,729 is equal to 3. When we plug in 1,729, we get 3. And number 4, another function. We're given a function called g, and g of y. So y is the value, our input value, or our input variable. We have g of y equals 3y minus y squared, and we are asked to find g of -2. So what we're going to do is take -2 and plug it in for our y values. We want to be careful with this one because we have a negative here and a negative for our input value, and they are not the same thing. So when we plug this in, as we see here, we want to be very careful of all these negatives that we're working with. So g of -2, plugging in -2 for y, is equal to 3, right from here. This -2 comes from the y being multiplied by 3 because y is being replaced with -2 because we're asked to evaluate the function at -2. this minus sign right here is this minus sign right here. And then we have negative 2. This minus sign is from the negative in the input. So negative 2 is being squared. So now when we look at this function here, we do exponents first, and we have negative 2 squared. Negative 2 squared means negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. So I can rewrite this equation or this function like this. Notice everything is exactly the same. The only difference is we have a 4 here. Why? Because negative 2 squared is 4. Next piece of work we can do is 3 times negative 2, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So now we have g of negative 2 is equal to negative 6. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 minus 4. One last thing we can do, negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. So what this means is that g of negative 2 is equal to negative 10. When we plug in negative 2 into this function, we get out negative 10.